turn one.
Oh, car on its roof.
Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip is in it. One of the championship contenders. Michael Waltrip.
The Bolson on 38.
Heavy damage.
Michael Waltrip is the worst driver in NASCAR, period. Cannot believe Napa signed back on him.
Now wait just a minute. We think of Michael Waltrip as this journeyman driver that was never gonna get 10 wins in his career, but come on. He wasn't the worst driver in NASCAR history. In fact, he was a lot better than you actually think. When Mikey hooked up with DEI in 2001, they found instant success with a win in the Great American Race, that being Mikey's first. Unfortunately, it was marred by the unfortunate passing of his boss Dale Sr., but throughout the season, the team progressed. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Park, up to his injury, had their best seasons up to that point, while Michael Waltrip and the 15 Napa team were struggling. Despite the win and 2 more top 5s, the 2001 season in the Winston Cup Series proved to be a bad one overall. A grand total of 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and a 24th points place finish. 2002 saw wholesale changes within the team. Slugger Labbe was promoted to crew chief, and 2002 was a much needed improvement. While he still only got 1 win this season, compared from the season prior, he got 1 more top 5 and 7 more top 10s, sitting with a total of 4 top 5s and 10 top 10s in the season as a whole. Also, he scored his second best points finish in his career with a 14th place run. On the Busch Series side of things, he was running his own team, Michael Waltrip Racing, driving the famous Aaron's Dream Machine 99. His 2002 Busch season is mostly remembered for this flip at Texas, but there are some fun facts around this. He actually had 4 second place finishes that season and only 1 win at Michigan, along with 6 top 5s and 11 top 10s. Heading into 2003, the sky was the limit over at DEI, a trio of drivers the team felt could win on a weekly basis. For Michael Waltrip, the expectations coming off of one of his best seasons up to this point was to build on the top 15 momentum they had picked up from last season. The hope was that it would eventually progress into a top 10 season. The Busch Series was no different. Michael Waltrip Racing was hoping to cap on the success they had in 2002, and were in search of their 3rd win ever.
Darryl, we did the math on this. 2 drivers, 1 car equals no chance, brother. Could I have my helmet, please?
Per usual, the Winston Cup Series season kicked off with the running of the Daytona 500. The DEI duo of Junior and Waltrip are running inside the top 5 for all of the race, competing for the victory. Unfortunately, Junior had some battery issues and was relegated a couple laps down, while Waltrip was still in contention. In a smart move, on the restart towards the end of the race, Waltrip dips down low, and Junior is able to pick him up in his draft and take the lead right as the caution comes out, not only giving Waltrip the lead, but Junior one of his laps back. Later in the race, the rain came crashing down, the cars were eventually pulled onto pit road, and the 500 never resumed.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. The rain has persisted. It's going to continue through the night. The race has been called, and Michael Waltrip is a 2-time champion of the Daytona 500.
For the 2nd time in 3 seasons, Michael Waltrip was the winner of the Great American Race, but it didn't stop there. In the 3rd race of the season at Las Vegas, he was coming into the race 3rd in the standings, coming off of a terrible run at Rockingham. Throughout the race, he was able to run inside the top 10 and eventually got the car good enough to get a 3rd place finish, making him the official points leader after that race. At Darlington, he was able to score another top 5, finishing 5th at the Lady in Black. The first 7 races of 2003 saw them 4th in the standings, 192 points behind the leader. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is sitting 3rd in the standings. For the first time in team history, they have 2 cars inside the top 5 in points after 7 races. For the 8th race of the season, it's a bread and butter track, Talladega Super Speedway, DEI's home away from home. Early on, Mikey catches some lady luck, avoiding the big one, and is leading early on in the race before getting caught up in an incident later on.
Oh, trouble, guys.
Turn 3.
Michael got into somebody going into 3 over there.
I believe I saw Jeremy Mayfield, the pole sitter there. You see Kyle Petty.
Did all I could do. I got squeezed out. It wasn't my fault.
In the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter. It was their first hiccup of the season, and they were able to recover quickly. Not only that, they were extremely fast at Talladega, which is going to come in handy later on. By the time we reach the halfway point at Chicagoland, Michael Waltrip is sitting 5th in the standings, 384 points behind the leader. He's ahead of future champions Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, and Kurt Busch. It's a season that not many projected him to have. It's a feel-good story to see a former journeyman driver make the change from journeyman to contender. The 20th race at Pocono showed the team's versatility when it came under pressure. Waltrip was involved in a little incident early on in the race with Mark Martin, forcing him to pit to repair damage, putting them on a different strategy that they took full advantage of.
Tell you what, these extra laps on fuel for Michael and Dale Jr. might make a difference.
Well, right now they've got to run, I don't know that they can do it, but he can run about another 10 laps. He might be able to go the rest of the way.
The 8 and the 15 teams took full advantage that day, with Junior finishing 3rd and Mikey finishing 4th. After the first 23 races of the 2003 season, Michael Waltrip and the Napa 15 Chevy team were sitting 5th in the standings. It didn't matter they were 509 points back. The point is, they have gotten it turned around over there. Over on the Busch Series side of things, they're putting together a pretty solid campaign. The Aaron's Dream Machine is running up front consistently, but isn't able to secure that first win. That all changed at Bristol. The Aaron's Dream Machine finally broke through, scoring its first victory of 2003.
And the final lap for Waltrip here at Bristol.
And Harvick did get by those guys.
Got Mike Wallace blowing up as the leaders make their last lap around, smoking out the speedway. And for Michael Waltrip, going to lead 50 laps on the night and pick up his first win of 2003. Michael Waltrip wins the Food City 250 at Bristol.
2003 was Waltrip's best statistical season in the Busch Series. That included a win, 8 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and 2 poles and 20 starts. After this win, everything changed. It seemed this was the peak of the entire season, because the following night in the Cup race, Mikey squandered away his top 5 points run.
To go with Waltrip coming down the track right into his path.
The Sharpie 500 was the beginning of a 5-week span that saw the Napa 15 team in shambles. The next 5 weeks saw finishes of 42nd, 37th, 32nd, 26th, and 42nd. For a team that has spent all of their season running inside the top 10 in points, this was devastating. This was the absolute worst thing to happen this late in the season. And to make matters worse, by the time they reached Talladega for the fall race, they are sitting outside of the top 10 for the first time all season. In order to salvage anything they could get, which was a top 10 points finish to cap off the year, they had to not only run well at Talladega, but in their minds, win the damn thing. Throughout the day, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was bump drafting the hell out of Mikey, even going full on into the corners. Trying to get by Johnson, the bump drafting would come at a cost. Eventually, Mikey got bumped way too hard, changing the entire complexion of the race.
Oh, trouble! Johnson spinning to the inside.
Don't come back across the racetrack. He's gonna. I don't think he's got much of a choice. But that was.
Oh boy, did he just get through there? Caution is out.
Junior was giving a warning by NASCAR to cool it, and after this spin, it seemed like this race was DEI's to lose. With 7 laps to go, Mikey was able to stay in front of the chaos that was going to ensue. Elliott Sadler's massive flip brought out a lengthy red flag, and by the time racing got going again, Mikey and Dale Jr. were sitting 1-2 on the final lap.
They're coming to the white flag. 2 2/3 miles of racing left at Talladega. Do they all make it back around? And who's the first one to the checkered flag?
Wow, there's
Tony Stewart. Shuffling Rusty Wallace out of the way. Jeff Gordon trying to block. Stewart trying to find some running room. Stewart up the center. So far, nobody with anything from Michael Waltrip. Outside, it's Kevin Harvick in the black and silver car. Gordon's on the outside of the 8 car. Gordon trying to jump in front of Harvick and get the push. Gordon to second. Michael Waltrip trying to figure out who to block. Here they come to the final corner and down to the start-finish line. Waltrip's going to have enough. Michael Waltrip will win the EA Sports 500 at Talladega. Oh, the crash after the checkered flag. Bobby Labonte turned into a couple others.
Big wreck behind you. Big wreck behind you. Be careful. Just
The second win for Michael Waltrip was a career record for most wins in a season. After dabbing up his teammate and going into the infield, in typical Mikey fashion, his celebration was to another level. He used the newly added roof flaps with his celebrations in both the infield and victory lane. It brought some solace to an otherwise lost season, because it never got any better after that. In the final 7 races of 2003, Michael Waltrip had 4 DNFs, 2 being for engine failures and 2 being for crashes. In the end, he had a grand total of 2 wins, 8 top 5s, and also scored 11 top 10s. While Michael Waltrip's 2003 season isn't as good as any other good seasons, it is definitely a good season in terms of Michael Waltrip. And ironically, in his best season, he finishes 15th in the standings. And once again, that'll do it for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.
Oh, there's contact. Waltrip into the middle of the pack and over. And a huge wreck to end this race. Michael Waltrip's going to get to the finish line first.